Hello, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for joining me again for yet another TBR. I am participating in a couple of readathons in September, and plus my TBR game, I have a few TBRs to put up. So you've already potentially seen my TBR game. If not, go and do that. You potentially also already have seen my TBR for Bookclubs. If not, go and check it out. And now that I have all the games that made me pick a book, I have sat down and curated out of all the books that I'm already reading for September, if there are enough to fit my magical Readathon Novice Path TBR. And there are. I couldn't decide between two characters. I have created two characters. First is Kaylin. So she's an Eltirian from Dark Meadow. She lives more in the urban setting. I haven't crafted whole character backstories, but Kaylin is pretty much your queen bee, gossip girl, elitist bitch. She thinks she's better than everybody else, and she looks down on all these goth emo Eltirians who just feed into the cliche. So she is more of a villain type, like a real villain type, a morally gray character looking out for herself within all these like goth emo people surrounding her from her perspective. The other character is a female dwarf called Leah, and she also is more from an urban setting, I think. Not sure yet. She is from Derun, and that's pretty much all I have for now. I can't decide between the two because usually I'm not the type of person who loves playing dwarves, but the character traits from the dwarves are what I prefer to play on the other hand. So the mixture between an Eltirian and a dwarf would be best, but I love playing these villainous, I'm better than everybody else character, and in my mind having a halfling just didn't work for that as much, because these are the type of people who look down on halflings. Not saying they're good characters, not saying they're likable, but they're fun to play and they're fun to follow. So it's my favorite type of characters. So that's what I'm playing. Anyways, I have two characters. So I have two books for each prompt in the Novice Path, and I'm hoping to complete them all. Let's see how far we get. So the first prompt is a book with a map, and for Kaylin I have picked Elantris, which is a Brandon Sanderson in the Cosmere universe, and I haven't read it yet. I've read The Mistborn. I'm on the second era in the Mistborn saga, and I have read the first two in the Stormlight Archive. I've read Warbreaker, but I still haven't read what a lot of people see as an entry point. And we have maps in here galore, so that definitely counts. So this is for Kaylin. And then for Leah, I have picked Red Rising. I originally wanted this to be a 5-star prediction, but I had this time trouble finding books that have maps. So Red Rising has a map in the beginning. I don't know much about this at all, only that people love it. So same about Elantris. Like, I want to go into these blind, so sorry, no synopsis. The next prompt is a book that keeps tempting me or is on top of my TBR, and for this I have picked two books that I have picked from in my TBR game to be the longest on my TBR. For Kaylin, that is Seven Eves by Neil Stephenson. This has been tempting me for the longest time. Seems to be a fantastic sci-fi about what would happen if the world is ending. I think that there's a lot of this trying to manage the catastrophic event and how to, a feverish race against the inevitable. Nations around the globe band together to devise an ambitious plan to ensure the survival of humanity. And then 5,000 years later, something else happens. That's all I know. That's all I want to know. But it has a very traditional feeling from the catastrophe movies that I have seen on TV, plus a sci-fi lens on it, what happens later, and I'm so here for it. Also, this is, I think, the first Neil Stephenson, and Neil Stephenson has been high on my need to read list. And then Matched feels more like this YA, oh my gosh, I'm in a utopian dystopia, what is really a dystopia, where people are put together not by free will. They're somehow matched. I don't remember the complete like situation, but I think a system matches people who are perfect for each other, and when our main character is about to find out who she's matched with, it kind of quickly lands on somebody else and then moves on to somebody that she's then supposed to be, and she's starting to question, hey, why was there somebody else shown? And so it feels very, very typical YA in that, when was it, like 2010 niche? I don't know, but it feels like a very, very niche era, and I'm not sure if I want to go back there, and I'm really feeling like I want to go back there. I might totally be in the mood, or I might be over it. I don't know. It could be I'm either really pumped for it or really over it, but it's been on my TBR the longest. The next prompt is a standalone, and for Kaylin, I'm reading 5-Star Billionaire, which is in Shanghai. It's set in Shanghai. We have 5 people who are in this in this glittering world, and Phoebe, without a job but armed with wisdom culled from self-help books, is determined to catch a rich man. Gary is a pop star whose life is spinning violently out of control. Justin withdraws from his powerful family and their real estate empire in the hope of reconnecting with Ying Hui, a former student activist turned successful businesswoman. And all the while, the 5-star billionaire himself pulls the strings of destiny, his lessons for success subtly but irrevocably shifting the dynamics of these disparate lives. So I think that's like a TV show. Opportunity can take many forms, nowhere more so than in Shanghai, the world's fastest growing metropolis. A TV talent show might catapult you to fame, only for you to be flung back down to obscurity. An identity card left on a crumb-covered cafe table could be a one-way ticket to deportation, or the first step towards the job of your dreams. So I'm intrigued by this. Let's see if I like it. I have no idea if I'm going to like it, but somehow I got intrigued by it and got it from the library, so I got to read it now. And for Leah, the standalone I'm going to be reading is Before We Were Blue. I have that as an arc from NetGalley, I believe, and this is more of a mental health, eating disorder. 2 people meet in a place where they're supposed to heal from this eating disorder, but what actually happens is that they befriend each other so much that they get scared to heal, because then they would have to separate. So I think that this is a very interesting setup and could potentially get really interesting. I got a little burned by an eating disorder book last month, and I'm hoping for this to be good. So the next prompt is a thriller or mystery book, which I don't have a lot on my TBR. I actually found exactly 2. So it's those 2 or none. The first one is The Essence of Evil. I don't know much about it except that it's a free ebook that I'm going to be reading for my Free Book Friday series, that I'm going to be reading for Kaylin. And then for Leah, I will be reading Where the Crawdads Sing. I thought it was more historical fiction, but it is listed as mystery, so we're gonna take it. Again, I just know that it has some sort of a historical setting. I don't know much more aside from that it's hyped. And I've lately seen a few question marks around the author. So I feel a little bit indifferent about still wanting to read it. But I was offered this book by a friend, which is a traveling book as well. So I will not buy it, but I will read it and then make up my own mind, do some research on the author, and then, just make up my own mind. A 5-star prediction, and for this one, for Kaylin, I will be reading Dawn by Octavia Butler. Octavia Butler has to be a 5-star. It's just like a no-brainer. Dawn intrigues me even more so than the whole Pattern Master series. Dawn follows this woman who has gone through this situation where the human race was about to be extinct, and an alien race came in and meddled with it and pretty much took people away from the planet, I think. Anyways, Lilith, our main character, wakes up from a deep sleep, and she's like being introduced to this alien race, and they're like, well, help us wake up everybody. We're ready to repopulate Earth with humanity because the threat has passed. That's kind of how I understand the setup, and I'm super intrigued. And by the way, I love this cover. I love the Octavia Butler covers, like the newer ones, and so pumped for this. And for Leah, I'll be reading The Humans, where all of a sudden this guy wakes up and feels like he's an alien in between humans. Everything just seems a little bit weird and off. And it just, everyone except for his dog just feels like a crazy alien species. And I don't know if this is going to go sci-fi or mental health, but call me intrigued. And I have high hopes because I've heard a lot of good things about Matt Haig, but I have also loved The Midnight Library by Matt Haig, so I'm intrigued. And then last but not least, a book with a school setting for Kaylin. I'll be reading Instagrammatic, which translates to Instagrammar, which is written by a German comedian. And he is a German teacher and worked as a German teacher. And his comedy revolves around being a teacher in the current age. And I have seen his shows and loved his shows, so I'm very, very excited to see how his book is. The subtitle says The Streaming Classroom. I'm intrigued and I want to know more. And then the second one, again, it was hard to find some books on my existing TBR with a school setting. But I believe that Fangirl partly plays in a school because we're following teenagers. And we're following, I believe, some fan fiction writing. And I am pretty sure that some of this is at least partially set in a school. At least the teenagers, I think, go to school. I hope so. If I'm wrong, I don't have a book with a school setting, and I'm still going to pass it because, as far as I understand, you only need to complete 2 out of 6 to complete the Readathon, and I'll be good. So this is my reading plan for the magical Readathon. Now it's only one more TBR to set, the Fall into Reading-a-thon. I will not be reading the group book, but I will find a way to complete the other prompts. So the last TBR to set for September, and then we can go and read. Thank you so much if you have been watching up until here. If you want to support me, go check out my playlist with like music that you can play in the background while you're reading, while you're doing your chores. I have these like read with me's and read and hike with me's with different types of music. Let me know what type of music you would like if your style isn't amongst the videos that I've already created, so I can do some of them. And yeah, that's the best way for you to support me, to just have a couple of them play in the background while you're doing stuff or whatever. So thank you for everyone who's supporting me, and I hope to see you again on my channel real soon. Until then, bye!
Just loving this moment. Can we stay here forever? I'm loving this moment. Can we stay here together? If I could stop the time, don't you know that I would? 'Cause I'm just loving this moment. Can we stay here forever?